All right, so we got our gorgeous Miss Jojo. So she is warming up with a couple little find its. Sometimes she sees them, sometimes not, and that's okay. She's doing a real nice job. Ready, cutie? So for her first day, she's doing stellar. She has been practicing because, again, Jojo, like many other babes, can sometimes have big feelings towards novel dogs. She's been doing a really good job, though, seeing some friends through the fencing and working some skills and feeling comfortable. But remember, first day is always kind of getting back in the groove. I know Miss J has done, again, the doggy day school in the past. So it's not all brand new to her. She did come to classes with mom and dad at times for our other more sensitive dog programs. So again, not brand new environment, but sometimes a little bit more challenging when it's me versus just mom and dad. Good job, cutie. So we're warming up with a couple little find-its. I did take her harness off just for a little bit so she can be a naked woman. So I know a lot of the babes, sometimes they will have, like just like with us, we have certain clothes or certain things that feel really comfortable, and sometimes we'd rather be, again, naked. So with this gorgeous gal, sometimes she likes to take little breaks out of her gear, which is fine. Oh my goodness, good job with your find-its though. So we're just warming up, getting her cozy in the environment, doing some great find-its with orientation back to me. So I wanted to warm up with some of her previous skills, just see how they're feeling, getting her comfortable in the bubble and having a good time while being here. So she has gone out just like the rest of beauties for several little potty breaks. She's been doing a good job going to the restroom outdoors in the yard. Smart girl. So, but I want to see if we can practice a little bit with our fronts, maybe work a little bit with loose leash walking, throw in a few little bit moments with some U-turns. We may also go into working some play as well with some of our flirt pulls. But again, I don't want it to be too extensive because again, with her cute little nose, she has to take little breathers to catch her breath. So right here, Jojo, come. Yes, what a good girl. So smart. Thank you. So she, when working through some of her skill set, working some of these great little recalls from the environment, really nice work on her part. Yes, I do want to capture all these little great moments where she does orient to me as well. So sometimes if we miss out on those little glimmers where your babes give you, like let's say the beginning stages of some of those skills for down the road, if we're always looking for the main big behavior and they're still working the beginning stages, we're going to miss out on a lot of great moments where we could be feeding and reinforcing the things we'd like to have happen fully down the road. So right here we go, Jojo, come. Oh, he's such a smart girl. So when working with our gorgeous gal, we're going to do a little bit with some loose leash walking, even off of gear. And we're going to, again, feed these little moments while she's by the side, be it left and right, whichever one works for her for right now for warming up. She's like, she's on crumb patrol. Some of the babes have left a few crumbs behind. She's like, I am not done cleaning yet. Ready? Jojo. Yes. So beautiful name recognition. Nice work, madam. Good work. So I might try and see if I can get her attention on me for a few steps. She's like, I guess so. Nice job, cutie. And if she does better sometimes with a find it and then reorientation to you, I know it's sometimes hard to find them on the floor. She did a good job right there. Nice. You could even start to build in some of this loose leash walking like we did a little bit with Mr. B earlier too. Sorry, Mr. Bodie. So, and technically Mr. Bernie too. We were both working some loose leash walking. So remember too that sometimes what we're going to be working on is also emotional sort of setup. So like what I mean by that is getting Miss Lovely to feel safe and comfortable and feeling okay in the space is more crucial than seeing if we could work like a downstay for 5 minutes. So even though I do want to work through skill set, we want to always think to ourselves emotionally, where is our dog? Because if we're not working them under threshold, which is where they feel comfortable and feel safe, whatever you're working on might be more flooding than it is exposure and building new feelings. So just like with us, if we were really overwhelmed by something and someone forced us to do it, but then tried to give us our favorite snack or some money on the side, depending on our comfort range, if we're really not feeling it, we're not going to care about the reinforcement because our safety is sort of out the window. She's going all under the chair. She's so funny, looking for the crumbs on the edges. Ready? Jojo. So if let's say oh, nice job, cutie. So let's say I didn't get her response, though I did get a really nice one right there. But let's say she didn't respond, just like her brother at times could also get distracted because she and Bodie live in the same household. So if let's say I called her and nothing happened, I'd want to, oh, smart girl, get a little bit closer and try from a second point where I'm a little bit closer to her and see if she can work it from there. If I tried the recall more than the 2 times, I'm going to go and just retrieve the babe from where they're not doing so hot. She hears a funny noise in the building. My neighbor is using their water, which means that it sounds funny down at this corner. So we'll see if I can get her attention. But if let's say you're repeating yourself for any skill, I'd be careful about repeating over and over because it's probably going to lose its meaning, or they might think 15, let's say, recalls eventually equal come when called. So Jojo, come. Oh my goodness, what a brilliant girl. Nice job, cutie. It's a long way to run too from across the room. Good job. So when practicing with our gorgeous gal, I know sometimes because of comfort range, we may only have so many little windows for practice, and that's okay. So even for Mr. B at home, he sometimes is getting a little flustered by some novelty. So make sure that if you do have multiple babes, which again, I know you guys have 3 babes at home, is to make sure you're working each particular beauty at their range and their comfort, but also maybe independently. Sometimes if we're always working all of them together, no offense to them, but they can sometimes pick up on behaviors that maybe we weren't a huge fan of when they're together, and then that becomes maybe the new behavior the puppy might pick up on or something. So we do want to make sure that whatever they're rehearsing is something we want them to get good at. Miss J says she has now gotten distracted and is behind my little barriers. So I'm just going to see if I can get her attention. Jojo, where are you? She's like, I'm going for an adventure. Hi, cutie. Ready? Come on. What a smart girl. You're so good. Nice job, my lovey. So I am bringing up her teeny tidbits into even more little smaller pieces because she's got, again, a lot of good crumbs and goodies to work with. Oh my goodness, some stress yawns. So you'll see too, guys, there will be moments where sometimes your babes are feeling comfortable, and you can see with her, obviously she's a brachycephalic friend, so that means she's got a very short little nose. So for her, it takes her longer to cool down or catch her breath. So because of that, sometimes she's panting, but sometimes the panting could be stress, or it could also be trying to expend that heat or that feeling of being warm. So you will want to view the rest of her. So I know like dog body language and behavior is really crucial because a lot of times if we don't understand what our dogs are saying at a small whisper for comfort range, how are we going to catch their insecurities or their feelings of discomfort before they get into shouting how they're feeling? So with Miss J, she's like, guys, I'm exhausted. With Miss J, there's moments where she does like a stress yawn. She does a little shake off. Sometimes her little hackles were up at times where she heard a funny noise, got a little bit overwhelmed by the funny sound. So if we're not watching our pups to see what they're telling us visually through their body language, there might be moments where we're missing windows into the comfort range for the dog. And that's why maybe their finesse for skill set is going out the window too. So ready? Jojo, come. Oh, such a good girl. Yes. So we'll take a little breather from some of these little recalls, but I want to see if I can do a little bit of play with her. Ready, cutie? So we'll try a little bit with our flirt pull. I'm not going to do it for too long because I don't want her to get too winded, but enough where we could do a little bit of practice moving around the environment and practicing grabbing and letting go. So whenever I start with play, I do like to have a word that's like, we're about to go ahead and do so. Like normally I go, are you ready? And then from there I say, go get it. And then that really means to go retrieve or go grab for the toy and play with it. If your babes are not so savvy with cues, don't worry. But the more they can kind of figure out certain words equal certain behaviors, the more fluid they might get with doing well with some of those skills. So we might go, you ready? Go get it. And now my toy comes alive and she's like, greatest day ever, wild woman. So I don't want to make it so hard that she doesn't get to catch the critter. So I want to make sure throughout play that she's not sort of getting frustrated and then having no out for it. So her finally catching the critter, what a good job, that I might make it come alive. She's like, oh my gosh, how exciting. So remember moments where your babe can practice doggy-like behavior, chasing, grabbing, and she's like, oh, give me a breather. So short and sweet for success for all the babes, but especially for a beauty that needs to catch their breath again. So sometimes we might do a few moments of wrestles and play with then some check-ins or some find it or some ways to kind of decompress again. So we might try again. Are you ready? She's like, oh my gosh, go get it. She's like, this is the greatest day ever. So I don't want to do tons, but that was very good. Ready? Go get that toy. Nice job. So with our gorgeous gal, having sort of that on-off switch can be really helpful. Also, when having the toy down, sorry, just adjusting my darn sweater, it keeps riding up. So while she's working with her toy, having it still stay out and then be able to take a pause can be helpful. So we might do a little, ready, Jojo? Nice job, cutie. So even though the toy is here, I might do a little bit with some find its. So that way, even though the toy might be available, we can still work on disconnecting and doing a different skill instead. Ready, cutie? She's like, lady, I'm exhausted. So much hard work coming to school. Ready? And again, she's a little bit more mature than the others. She's an adult. The other three are babies or teenagers, depending on their age group. So, but they're still all very young, and she is a little bit more, not a senior, but she is, I think I want to say, I believe it was 5. So sorry if I'm wrong. But again, an adult dog for sure. So her standards for what she likes in her life might be very different from a puppy, which might be very different from a teenager and for a senior. So remember, the things that we liked when we were younger may not be the same things we liked when we were a teenager, and not the same things we liked as a young adult and into more adulthood. So having a moment where your babe has a spectrum for comfort will vary depending on what age group they may be in as well. So dog sociability, so like some dogs are very dog savvy. They enjoy all different dogs. They're very friendly, and they to read the room and can take little pauses and do a great job. But then there's some that are more dog selective, which is typically the norm. So just like with us, we are selective who we become friends with, who we might decide to date or marry. We don't go and like hang out with every single person. We're civil, we might say hi or just ignore. But typically sort of dog selective or even people selective is a very normal window for most dogs. Then the two extremes would be like the dog that, again, like earlier, the one that loves everything and is very interested in everything, and the one that says, heck no, and I'm really overwhelmed and very like, no, not interested, and therefore sometimes aggressive towards people or dogs or other items. Ready? We'll do another find it. So the typical, though, for most is socially, again, comfortable with some, but not all. So selective. Good job, cutie. So maybe we'll do a little bit with wiggling. And so again, with those lovely U-turns, ready, Jojo? Nice. So I know she's a little tired, so we might have to go a little slower, which is fine. So, but for U-turns, as we've practiced them in the past, we'd want to get our puppy's attention. Ready? Turn. And we would then alternate the direction in which we were in. So if we were heading that way, we just turn and do that lovely C shape and then feed for the turn and eventually for just the turning in the direction. Oh my goodness, so hard. So for my gorgeous gal, ready? Seltzer should not be my go-to drink. So we might be walking, and then I might go again, turn, and do that little U-turn and feed for that. Good job. 2, I know she's a lower lady, so a low rider. She's a bit lower to the ground. We may find, I know I've mentioned in some of the classes prior, using like a target stick that is with food on it, so like a spatula or a ladle. And then you could actually put on there cream cheese or some canned dog food or a little bit of pumpkin or sweet potato or even peanut butter, and use that as a target stick for her to go hone in on, lick for the reinforcement and continue. So the benefit for like the shorter girls like Miss S and Miss Lovely over here, as opposed to you bending over all the time to try to reach your babe, you could then lower the stick with the, again, it could be your spatula there, lick, 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 and then you continue on your way. Ready, cutie? So we could, again, get her attention. So I'm going to show her what I have to offer. We're going to take a few steps together because she's a little bit tired. So I'm just kind of helping her by physically looking to that snack and getting right there into the moment. So obviously sometimes I'll also be blabbing. So I don't always get to say my cue word as we're practicing. But as she's near or in the right position, I'm feeding for those moments. So hopefully, again, depositing into that bank account for that behavior. So also as we're practicing, we might go and work a little bit with our front. Nice. So with the front in the beginning, if she does not always feel comfortable rocking sits all the time, remember, depending on your babe's comfort range or their physique, some of them, because they're seniors or they're older dogs, their hips or their joints could be a little sore, a little tender. So forcing your babe to always go into like a stationary position, like a sit her down, may be a little overkill. So sometimes I prefer, and if she's interested and she offers it, yes, I might actually like, but my bum has to come back up, is I may offer the reinforcement for when she does give it on her own too. Yes, so beautiful little positive interrupter. Good job, Miss Lovely. So we're feed for that. So for the front in the beginning, we might start off again with the babe in front of us already, and then practice having them move into our space. So sometimes I like to have in the beginning food in both hands, front, and then feed for that. And again, front, and then feed right there. Beautiful. Front. So it's just bringing your puppy into your space. This could be, again, beneficial as Miss J maybe sees something, gets a little distracted. She could be going this direction. Then we might go, Jojo, ready? And then we rotate her into a front. And now she could be in front of you, checking in, working a few skills over here. And then that way she's not distracted by the thing down at the other end. Good job, cutie. She's like, hold up, backward sneezing. Oh my goodness. We have a little moment. So backward sneezing, I know it sounds awful at times. Any dog can do it, but sometimes the shorter faced puppies do end up doing more backward sneezing at times. It can be because they're excited and they're eager for the food, and sometimes as opposed to sneezing outwards, they sneeze inwards. So it kind of sounds like snorting. There's nothing that is hurting them while they're doing a backward sneeze. It just sounds really awkward sometimes. Good job, cutie. Ready? Find it. She's like, oh my goodness, so tired. And two, she might be perfectly okay, but I know for some puppies, their joints and their the way their knees work, for some smaller dogs, they can have it's like a patella that can come in and out. So I think they call it fluxating patella. I'm not saying that's what she's got. She could just be, this is her conformation, and that's no worries. But I do find, and I know we've discussed for like the reactive dog class, where a lot of dogs that are dealing with behavioral problems are actually dogs that are also, about 80% of the cases, are stemming from a place of discomfort or ailment, or something is not feeling well. So sometimes dogs can be more crabby or have a smaller fuse, just like we can, if we're not feeling great. So ready? Nice check-in, ma'am. She's like, the building's making weird noises. Good job. So I just noticed sometimes every once in a while when she's walking, she's like moving, but then her little leg, she has it, but then she kind of like twitches it and kind of pushes it out. So I'm almost wondering, and there could be absolutely nothing wrong with her. It could just be the way she's built, her conformation. But sometimes I like to rule out medical reasons as well that are adding to behavioral difficulties in the sense of comfort range. So we might go again, Jojo, ready? Come. She's like, I hear crazy noises. So let's say right here, I tried the recall, nothing happened. I'm gonna get a little bit closer, about half the distance. Oh, nice, good job. And then I might go, Jojo, come, and then help her out right there. Good job. Oh, what a smart girl. She's like, that was delicious, thank you. Smart lady. She's like, that was so good. So if there's ever moments where you completely lose your gorgeous gal, just get out of the bubble or wherever you might be to try to create more space or distance so your babe can feel more comfortable and therefore sometimes less flustered or reactive. She's doing a real nice job. Oh my goodness, chewing is also hard for your brother, so don't worry. So when working through some of these U-turns or the fronts and doing some of this lovely loose leash walking, remember that we want to practice a lot of these skills well before we need them. So if we're finding that Miss Lovely is having a hard time with certain setups, make sure that about, like, let's say 80% of the time, she's practicing these skills in non-threatening, no triggers, no big spooky thing sort of scenarios. Ready, Jojo? Nice. What a smart girl. Doing a very good job. So we might try again another little moment with just a little bit of a U-turn. So right here, we might go again, turn, and I'm using my hand right now just to help her. Eventually she gets more fluid. She'd hear the cue word and we'd feed for the skill and she'd get much more comfortable with the dynamic. But sometimes, especially for day number 1, we want to make sure things seem easy and attainable. And especially if we're trying to generalize those skills into new venues, I'm not going to make it the harder step in a brand new harder environment. I would lower the criteria where I would do easier ways for her to get the skill and then be successful, and then eventually make it the bigger girl skill even in the harder environment. But we want to make sure lower one end of the criteria if another thing is going up and getting harder. Nice job. Jojo. She's like, hold up, lady. She might be looking for the water dish. It's just over in the corner. But for the lovely lady, again, really nice job for her first day in the program. We're going to probably take a little break, let her go out for a potty, and see if we can do another few skills with her as well. Ready? Jojo. She's like, guys, weird noises in this building. Ready? Nice job checking in. She's like, I hear creepy things. I might do a little find it, see if I can get her to break from that distraction. Nice. So remember too, when your babe, and I'm sorry, my nose is tickly today. When your babe is having a moment where they get a little stuck on something, remember that you're not feeding for them having a little bit of a hard time. You're feeding for like redirection. So like when Miss J heard like one of her classmates make a little noise, she got all stiff and was a little bit unsure. And in that moment, when I go and do a find it, I'm not feeding her for that thing of getting overwhelmed or flustered, but instead for the redirection. So she got up and she moved, she stopped being sort of frozen, she was stuck staring or listening for the thing, and then we're able to get some disengagement. So again, we could notice how she's again listening to something, we could get her attention, do a little find it, help her move and redirect, and then from there bounce back to a skill we'd rather in a moment. Such a smart girl. Good job, cutie. So we'll give her a little break from this, and we'll see if we can work a few more skills with her in just a moment.